Hey, friends, Romans, countrymen, people of all ages, women, children, everybody that's watching, me do things. It's Spoot from Fort Misery Gaming. This one's going to be pretty quick today, so just wanted to give you guys an update. Most of you who have seen our spreadsheets have sort of seen this. This is Yuppie's, Yuppie G, his sort of opinion on demon priority and sort of where they fall. A lot of this is pretty agreed upon across Sinoalice, so like a lot of this stuff you're going to see and you're going to be like, well, duh. Yeah, I get it. I understand. Some of these things are just duh. But there are certain things that you may not know. So we'll go over general demons, things you should prepare for, and kind of little tips and tricks during. So you'll know what a lot of top-end guilds are doing that you may not have seen. So we'll start with Seismic Calamity. This is the dude with the mustache that fires all the lasers. I love this dude. It's not great, but, so this one is staves, which is clerics, hammers, which is crushers, and bows, which are gunners. These aren't important first or second. Like, it's just not a good combination. You don't have that many crushers, you don't have that many gunners, and you don't really need that much healing at any point in the game. Like, unless the other team is just trouncing your guys, most of the time you're probably either getting one or two shots, so it doesn't really matter. The priority on these is very, very low. The one after this, Glacial Calamity, is the big old white lady that throws the big ice ball at you. It is clerics, breakers, and paladins. This one is slightly... So this was made before Grand Colo, so if you have a guy or two that are running the Half Nightmare Alice, this guy is slightly more important, but it is still not super high on the grand scheme of things, just because it's still... Your support is still heal, so it doesn't matter as much. This is where we start getting into the big boys. Tempestuous Calamity. This is the Sork Crusher Gunner. It is slightly less important than... Or slightly more important than the... Well, pretty significantly more important than the first two, anyway. So, it does not matter what the team you are going up against has. If you get a Sorcerer Shinma and you are going that wild, like, you should see their numbers in blue pretty significantly, which really screws teams up, and it makes it significantly harder on their minstrels. So these two are pretty important because it steamrolls. Like, having a sorcerer be able to double or triple their output as far as efficiency means that the other team should go down faster. The first demon, Tempestuous, is not great. Second demon, Tempestuous, is amazing, because usually you are getting down into the Justice strats or the Noan strats at that point. So, like, being able to just shut down offense is very, very strong. Oh, boy, we're going back to the stuff we talked about last time. Hold on, boys. Hold on. Baby, I'm coming home. Solar Calamity, the big chicken face lady. This is pretty much a guaranteed boat in one direction. And I don't mean the band. So it's important pretty much at all points in the game. It's really good first, it's really good second. Mostly because you are still running into breakers, bar none. And more people are running paladins now that there are enough spears to actually run a paladin viably. And the debuffs pretty much guarantee that you're just going to shut somebody's defense and offense down and just run them. So we'll go over these, and then we'll go over a couple of tactics that I want to talk about, just so you guys kind of know them. The last two are arguably the most important ones. So the last one was Solar Calamity. This one is Meteoric Calamity. This is the chick that throws rocks at you. This is Minstrel Crusher Gunner. I'm going to go ahead and spoil the movie for you. The DPS tokens on this one don't even matter. The amount of buffing you get off of a Shinma is usually anywhere from 20 to 30% more than you normally do. So if I were doing 300,000 with a Minstrel Shinma, I should be doing about 4 to 420. Blaze it. But That's the thing. Minstrels are insanely powerful on buffs when you have a Shinma. Same thing for Sorks, but generally you doing more damage works out better. This one it's less important as a second Shinma than the debuff, but it is still pretty important to get. If you get this one first, you just windmill towards them. So I keep trying to stop myself to explain the strategy, but we'll go back over it. So the last one is Thunderous Calamity, arguably the most important Shinma in current Coliseum. So if you get it first, it's pretty much a guaranteed loss unless you have a lot of comeback capabilities. As a second Shinma, it's pretty much a shutout. So it is Minstrel, Breaker, Paladin. Same comments as before. This one is the one that shifts games pretty much from you're probably going to win to snowballs. And you can lose with this. We have lost winning this one because we were outclassed to begin with. It's not impossible to lose with this, but it is hard. So, strategies. So, let's do grids for... Well, yeah, we just talked about demons. Let's talk about strategies. So, if you get a buff or debuff summon off the rip, a lot of high-end guilds will suicide so you lose the demon. It does cost them a boat, but usually the difference in an early boat you can make up pretty quickly. So the trick to the debuffs and the buffs are if you see the team start sandbagging or just going AFK so you kill them automatically, DPS needs to stop. You don't hit them, you don't do nothing. You just have your sorcerers or your minstrels gun them down or buff you to oblivion. You want to get as much time out of the demon buffs as you can. Mostly because if they start attacking you again, you get to murder them. So why fight back, you know? But the trick, you can honestly do this against people. Like, if they get the demon and you don't think you can recover from it, just let them kill you. Take the boat, come back stronger, get your priorities, do it. But it goes both ways. Like, people are going to use this offensively and defensively. So be careful about it. It can screw you. There are occasions where people will sandbag the first half of the fight so they can justice off of a buff demon, off of a minstrel demon, because you just win. As long as there's not more than about 250 or 300,000, which can still be made up with a good enough team. The gap is not scary with a buff demon, with a buff Shinma. It just does not work. That's the big strategy you're going to see in a lot of high-end. You're probably not going to run into it in A and B a whole lot, just because you have a lot of teams that aren't really playing for keeps yet. So keep it in mind. That's a big, big thing later on. If you see the enemy team start sandbagging immediately after you get a buff or a debuff demon, just stop attacking. Get as much mileage out of that demon as you can. And some of you might be like, oh yeah, well that's obvious. And others, you may have not considered it because you're like, oh yeah, the boat's important. Boats are important, but you can recover the difference in a boat if you play smart. So usually it is better to get the buffs or debuffs stacked as high as you can before you lose it. Sometimes you have to gauge it. If you can boat them rapidly and keep them on their back feet, sometimes that's the better option. You have to be able to sort of play that fluidly. You don't want to go too deep unless you know you can press them right after. So time your demon, time your summons the same way. Like, if you know you can win the demon and you know you can push afterwards, sometimes it's better to get the win. Sometimes it's better to get the boat. But if the teams are pretty evenly matched or they have a slight edge on you in DPS, that can cost you some time because they will make it up. Unless they're just not playing the game right. So that is like the big demon strategy that everybody should be aware of. I don't know how many of you actually know that. I'm not going to assume everybody doesn't, but I think it's good to get it out there for people to talk about. So keep that in mind. Grid preparation. So most of our supports, depending on what demon is up, with the exception of stabs, try to throw at least 3 to 5 bare minimum of the other summons. So if I'm a minstrel, for example, I want to have 4 or 5 books that I have going. Now, truth be told, I don't have but 2 books that I have upgraded. So like I can throw like S books in and hope for the best. But I have 4 L staffs, so I tend to keep those in so the clerics can also bring some out. So at least we're doing a little bit of triage healing and nobody ever goes quite want for healing. There have been matches where I've popped up 5th or 6th on healing when we have 3 or 4 clerics. So keep it in mind, that shit does happen. But you definitely want to look at demons and prepare your grids because, like, essentially you want to crack 15 every second. Every time, or what is it, every 2.5 or 2.8 or whatever the refresh is, you want 15 every shot. If you're seeing little issues with like people getting 5 or 6 on the rotation and less on the next one, then it gets harder to win demons later on because you have entire people stocking weapons away. And what that means is if you know a demon's coming up and you see the demons and all you have are instruments and it's an instrument demon, you wait a couple of seconds. You let the demon pop up and you shotgun through so you guarantee have 5 rotations. If 10 of you have that, that's 50 points. And anything from A and down, that is a guaranteed demon. Well, I guess it's 50-50 in A because you can get 75s and you can get 50s. So I guess it depends on where you get paired. But even in S, that's 50 cost on a Shinma. That's the easiest thing you can do. And generally your DPS is going to be swinging on what it is anyway. So even if they stock for it, you're still looking at an extra 5. That means 15 a rotation. It's very easy to do it. So get with your guild, plan it out. Now, you don't want to go too much higher than 4 or 5 per. Like, essentially all of you should be able to do it pretty reasonably because, like, 15 on 4 rotations is 60. 15 on 6 rotations or on 5 rotations is 75. So if you stock 5 on everybody, you should be fine. There may be some like little leftovers here or there where you just get unlucky in your grid, but keep it in mind, do the math, look it over. And that's pretty much it. That's what we prepare for demons. That's how a lot of the high-end guilds are doing it. It's just a little tip for you to keep you guys going. And just remember, like, we have this document up. You can look at it. It's attached to our nightmare summons. If you notice, I can move slightly up. Oh, look, all the nightmares. So if you want to take a look at it, we'll keep it posted. But that's pretty much it. So get out there, practice your demons, get your Shinmas ready, prepare for Grand Colo, do your best, because we believe in you.